Hi everyone, it's Diane with Sew Batik, and today is Fabric Friday. It's November. Can you believe it? It's already November, and we have snow. It's going to stay. And so today we are going to talk about a cardigan, and that is the Castillo Cardigan, designed by Itch to Stitch. I've always wanted just and I don't want to say basic or simple or common. This is the style. It is a simple, truly simple cardigan with a hood, pockets, long sleeve, and easy to wear over anything that you might have. So we're going to talk about this, and that's the top I'm wearing. We also are going to talk about the Fitzroy Blouse. Let me hold that up here. And this, we are going to feature our 115-inch wide Batik Cotton. And Kathy actually sewed both of these garments, and they're just fantastic. I think I really wanted to add to my fall wardrobe a nice classic shirt made with our cotton, and I really do love this style of top. And we'll talk about this one in just a little bit. I'm also going to answer a customer question, and I'm going to grab the pattern here. A couple weeks back, we talked a little bit about various jacket options coming into the fall season and wearing long sleeves and just different styles that are out there. We featured our Batik Rayon for that particular episode. And one of the jackets is the 8172 Simplicity Kimono Style Jacket. And this jacket is really popular. This is not a new pattern by any stretch of the imagination, but it is one that is classic, versatile, one that you can make a lot of different types of jackets with using different fabric combinations, whether it be one fabric for the kimono top and the flounce, or two different fabrics that go together. And we did that with a twilight blue jacket, and I can show you that image up here. I think I put all these on and kind of danced around the last time I did this, so hopefully you can see that as well. But the one I want to share with you, we got a really great question from a customer, which is how to lay out this pattern with that circular flounce using our border batik, because the jacket that I did have on also to show this was a border batik, and it's the Durham Dreams motif in the shade of Night Shadow, and I just love this jacket. It's just such a fun jacket, and it adds a lot of style. So I'm going to go over to the cutting table later on and show you exactly how to lay this out on a border so that you can get the same look that I got with this jacket, as well as give you a couple of tips of how to position it. And then you'll have a lot of choices of your own to make when you lay this out. So I'll do that a little bit later when I answer that customer question, okay? But the first thing I want to talk to you about today is the cardigan, the Itch to Stitch Castillo Cardigan. And I love it. I'm going to make a bunch of these. And I mentioned earlier, I want to thank Kathy, who sewed this one up and sewed up the Fitzroy. I just haven't had a lot of time to sew right now, and so it's been great. Kathy just really does such a fantastic job. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this cardigan. It is available in sizes 0 to 20. Now, I know this might be one of her older patterns, simply because I know now she has multiple size ranges, but I think this can be adapted to any size. It's just a simple, classic look. The fabric requirements, I always look at this. This is made specifically for knit, and we selected our 72-inch wide jersey knit, and this is the Gardenista Vine motif in the shade of Firecracker Red. So it really has a lot of life to it, which is really super fun. But the pattern itself the fabric requirements are for a fabric that has 25 to 50% two-way stretch, or four-way stretch, I guess it is, going both directions. And I always look at that and challenge myself, because our jersey knit has about a 20% stretch, and it is a simple two-way stretch. It does not stretch both directions if you're going to stretch your fabric. So it's only going to stretch around you. But I feel like the heavier weight of our knit and the cotton feel and the stretch of it really never limits me. I never change the size. I never change really anything about it. I just follow the instructions and the size measurements and the finished size measurements that I want for myself, knowing what the stretch is. And so don't let the fact that our fabric is 20% stretch hinder you at all. It is a wonderful, wonderful cardigan and works beautifully with our fabric. Now let's see here. I'm going to jump over and share. I'm going to stand up and show you my version of this cardigan. The size that I made starts with a 10 and grades to a 14. And the length is about 30 inches long, 29, 30 inches long. And so it's really a nice, let's see if I can move back here. It's really, really a nice length for wearing a cardigan. So the long sleeve is a raglan sleeve with a simple band that's folded over and then stitched to the main portion of the arm. Very simple. It has a hood that has a seam going down the center, and patch pockets on either side. Plus, there's interfacing right at the top of the pocket, and there is a band, a finished facing band that goes all the way around the hood and back down to the hem. And it's really a simple top to make. Now, Kathy does not have a serger, and so she finished the seams. Well, she sewed it using your traditional lightning bolt jersey knit stitch on her sewing machine, and then finished the edges, and I believe it's an overlock stitch. Very nicely done to finish the edges of each one of the pattern pieces. So it looks super professional. The only other thing that this pattern does suggest and require is twill tape. Right where the seam, and I should take this off so that you can kind of see on a mannequin, but there's twill tape right back here that covers the join between the body of the cardigan and your hood. And the goal there is to really reduce any amount of stretch going across and really give it a nice finish where that seam is. And so you will need a little bit of twill tape besides just a slight bit of interfacing for the pocket itself. And so that's it. Let's talk a little bit about the fabric requirements. In her pattern, she references 54-inch wide fabric. And our fabric is 72 inches wide. So the knit is 72 inches wide. So we won't need as much fabric as is listed on this requirements page here. So had I been using 54-inch wide fabric for a 10 to a 14, the requirements are 2.5 yards. We started with 2 yards of our 72-inch wide fabric. And I did not go over there and take a picture of the layout, but here's what I recommend always is I look at the longest pieces of any garment. And typically they're going to be the front and the back, unless you're making a crop top or something like that. But this is a longer garment. And so I fold our 72-inch wide fabric in half. So I have a fold and my selvages. And this pattern has the back on a fold. So I'll lay out my back piece on the fold and my front right next to it. And then the bands that go all the way around the garment, I try to put those right next to the front of the garment. So that's how that portion is laid out. So there is our 30 inches or 31 inches to start the main portion of our garment. And then I position the sleeve, the hood, and then the smaller pieces wherever they fit, basically. And that will be your band and your pockets. The sleeve length itself, when I was laying this out on the cutting table here, is about 27 inches long. So if I have my 31-inch long garment plus 27 inches, plus maybe a little bit more if I have to position some of the little pattern pieces around, I'm less than 2 yards of fabric when I'm using my 72-inch wide Batik Cotton Jersey Knit. So our garment kits on our website, and actually shouldn't call it a garment kit because we're not offering the pattern. They're a fabric pack to make this specific cardigan with a link over to Itch to Stitch so that you can purchase and download the pattern directly from Kenna at Itch to Stitch. We are an affiliate with her, and so just click on that link and jump over there if you don't already have this pattern. But our fabric pack will include the yardage that you need as well as the interfacing, and yeah, I think that's the two things that go with this particular, oh, and the twill tape. So you'll have all of that in your fabric pack. I don't know, what do you think about this cardigan? If you have made one of these, you have to let us know in the comments below. But I think it's just a great way to use 2 yards of jersey knit. And the stretch, I feel like it doesn't really need to have any more than our 20% stretch. It feels amazingly comfortable, fits over. I had it on with a turtleneck the other day, and it's just, it feels great. And if you need a little bit more room because you are wearing a heavier shirt typically, or a cardigan or a sweater underneath it, then just size up a size. But otherwise, I just feel like the sleeve fits nicely. It's not too snug. And it's just a simple cardigan to throw together for our cooler season. So I hope you give this one a try. It's really great. I had to go do a little wardrobe change here so that you could see this next top. And it's the Fitzroy Blouse. Let me show you the front of the pattern, and it's by Liesl Co. And I have had this on my to-do list for quite some time, actually. And it's just a classic. I'm going to stand up for just a minute here so you can see this drawing. It's just a classic style button-down shirt with 2 different sleeve options, finishing options. So one is like a traditional button placket closure, and one has pleats that go across the top of the opening of the sleeve, which is really a classic look. And that, I think, is what she has displayed right here on the shirt she's wearing, okay? But I chose the button down closure on the sleeve itself. And I think I'm going to stand up and just show you this top. This is probably one of the first times we've actually sewn with and featured our 115-inch wide Batik cotton in a garment. I have sewn with the 45-inch wide gradation before, so you've seen that as a garment. But this is the first time, and I just absolutely love it. I love the crisp feel of the cotton, and this is the perfect pattern for this style shirt. I just absolutely love it. So it has a shirt tail finish to the hem, and you can wear this. I just wore it open and out instead of tucked in, so that you could kind of see the length of the top. And it has a really, really simple neckline with a button closure. And the back, let me see if I can, sorry about flipping my hair, but there is a pleat in the center back piece to give it a little bit extra fullness going down the center back of the top. And just as, you know, your classic sleeve, fitted sleeve and finished placket. It takes about 8 buttons as well. So this is, by the way, this is our animal skin motif in the shade of charcoal. So you know what this is. And we will have these available as a garment kit on our website with an option to purchase the pattern as well. We do have those in-house in case you don't have that pattern. So let's talk a little bit about the sizing and some specifics about the garment itself. The Liesl pattern is sizes 0 to 20, which is, I'm going to give you some basic body measurements here. A bust of 32.5 to a 46, hip of 35 inches to a 48.5. And then the finished measurements of this garment, you basically have about 3 inches, if I'm calculating this correctly, 3 inches of ease at the bust and about 6 inches at the hip line. So it does grade out a little bit at your hip. And I did do a little bit of grading. So I started with a 12 and then graded to a 14 at the hip area because I just wanted a little bit more movement from my waist down through the hips. Let's talk a little bit about yardage. This pattern for 45-inch wide fabric, which is really what we cut off of our 115, is 2.5 yards to 3 yards is what you'll need as your yardage range. And I started by cutting 45 inches off of our 115-inch wide bolt of fabric. And that will give me just slightly more than 3 yards of fabric. And so either we will have in our garment kits the 2.5, or we'll just cut a straight 45 inches off our 115-inch wide fabric, which is 3 yards of fabric. And pre-wash it. Now here's the other thing, since we haven't really worked a lot and talked a lot about our batik cotton when it comes to garment sewing, I recommend using either a 40 weight or a 50 weight thread, an 80-12 Schmetz, if that's your brand, top stitch sharp needle, and because it's woven fabric. And we use an interfacing that's a little bit heavier. The 101, actually SF 101 interfacing from Pellon is what we use for this particular garment. And you will need the interfacing for your cuff as well as the front facing going, all the way around your neckline. So that will be in the kit. And then buttons. And I believe for View B, which is what we made, it calls for 11 half-inch buttons. So whatever button style you like, I selected a brown to go with this top, and you can make it as flashy or as calm as you would like your top to be. But our kits will include all of that, and then the option to purchase the pattern if you don't already have the pattern. And I think when it comes to woven fabric, and we also recommend always pre-washing, just to make sure that you get rid of any of the surface dyes and wax that are still sitting on the top of the fabric, as well as just any shrinkage that we want to get out of the fabric so we don't have any of that after we've made our garment. So always pre-wash your fabric. And we do recommend a product called Synthropol. It's on our website. It's a little 4-ounce bottle. That's we have a regular Synthropol, or we have one that's low foam for washing machines that they're very efficient washing machines that don't use a lot of water during the agitation and wash cycle. So either one of those options for your pre-wash. Now, the one thing that I also thought would be so much fun for this particular garment is, any woven fabric would really work. I just jumped to the cotton because I really wanted that look and feel. But this would be absolutely gorgeous out of our batik linen, which is 54 inches wide. And there's also fabric requirements on the pattern jacket for a wider fabric. And so if you were to make this out of a linen, the yardage range here is 1 3/4 yards for a size 0 through 2.5 yards for a size 20. So I think a linen would be absolutely gorgeous. And then if you would like something that's a little bit softer looking, the Batik Rayon is 45 inches wide, as you know, and would also make a beautiful, beautiful Fitzroy blouse. Absolutely gorgeous. So I think I might have to explore some of those other woven fabric options as well. So pick the fabric of your choice, and I think you will make an absolutely gorgeous top. Now, the one thing that, one thing I have to do is I have to thank Kathy again. Kathy stitched up this garment and just did an amazing job. Everything is top stitched so beautifully and just finished so beautifully. And I don't know about you guys, but when you stitch, I know she takes the time to put this together just beautifully. So I have to thank her for that. But it's really, I have not done a sew along in a long time. And I think that this particular garment is so straightforward that you probably don't need one for this, but it's a basic, you know, front facing, simple collar, really not a collar, your sleeves that you attach, and the placket would probably be the only tricky thing. That might be something new that you've never added to a garment before. So we could always do a little tutorial on adding a placket and finishing off the sleeves of a cotton shirt as well. So let me know if you want me to do one of those little simple tutorials for that as well. So definitely check this out and pick one of your favorite cotton fabrics from our entire collection and let us know what you would like us to put in your garment kit. I went and grabbed the Simplicity 8172. This is the Kimono Style Jacket that we featured one of our border batiks on, and this is the Durham Dreams motif, and it is in the shade of Night Shadow. It's really, really deep blue, and there's hints of a burgundy and kind of a, it's almost like a dusty green to gray inside this motif, and it's really such a beautiful fabric. And I really wanted to show how we laid out the fabric, the pattern pieces on the fabric, to create this look, because it is one fabric and it changes in color, and I will show you that at the table. From one selvage is hand dyed, which is up here, and then it transitions down through the various densities of motif to the other selvage, which has what looks like stalks, and it's really supposed to be wheat, as in Durham. And so it shows like the stalks of the wheat and then the tassels of the wheat going up the fabric, okay? So I wanted to really show how this could be just spectacular on a jacket. And I'm going to turn this around so that you can see the back of the jacket. Let's straighten that out a little bit. There is a center seam here. And here is where the flounce, right here, is attached to the top portion of the jacket, okay? Now, let's jump over to the table, and I'm going to show you what we did to create this look on the Durham Dreams fabric. This is the Durham Dreams Batik Rayon in the colorway of Azalea. And what I'm trying to do here with this display, hopefully you can see this okay, but one selvage edge up here is the hand-dyed shade of Azalea. And as the stamped design transitions, it changes to this kind of a sparsely floating Durham Dreams kind of leaf motif up here, down into a much more dense, packed motif, and then the stems or the sprigs of the Durham Dreams wheat right down here, and that's the other selvage, okay? And so what I want to share with you now is I'm going to grab the pattern pieces for this kimono, and we're going to lay them out on this fabric. Now, here there are 4 pattern pieces. This is the front and the sleeve. So it's a traditional kimono. This is the back piece, which is the back and the sleeve. And there is a seam in the back. That's not on the fold. And then there are 2 pieces that make up the flounce. This is the back flounce, which is on the fold. And then the front piece here, this is the center front that works its way back to the side seam, okay? I'm gonna set the top portion of the kimono aside for now, the top pieces, and we're gonna work with just the flounce, because that's really the main portion of the question here, is where do we lay this so that we can show the border batik the best. So here's what I did. To me, the most important thing about this design is to always show the motif straight in the front and straight at the center back, so that if you're walking, you can see this design straight down. We don't necessarily, I don't know if the word care so much about what's happening with the side seam, which is going to curve up here, okay? So that is not going to follow that straight motif that goes along the selvage edge of the design. It's going to curve up, okay? But this is how we lay this out. So we're going to make sure that our straight of grain is here. Lay out our pattern piece that swerves this direction, and you can see all the different size ranges here, okay? I'm going to set this aside for just a moment. This being the back piece is on a center fold. So we'll find our fold edge, make sure that that is straight, line up our fold line with the straight portion of the motif, and then again, this is going to curve up into, depending on the size that you're making. So this is an extra small, XX small, extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, and on. So it eventually is going to curve itself up into this lightly floating motif that's up in this area, okay? But, and I'll show you the jacket one more time, you really cannot tell that it swerves in that direction when you have the flounce on, because of the fullness of the flounce and the, I don't know, I guess just the flowing nature of the rayon itself. You really don't even see that at all. So we just always want to make sure that the center back and the center front is on that straight of grain, and it'll curve up. Now, I want to leave these pattern pieces here for just a moment, because it really is important to know how you want to lay out the top portion of the garment. And I'm going to pull this fabric down so that you can see where I'm headed here. Okay, I'm going to come around over here. We're going to pull this down. Okay, so the very, very bottom selvage edge is going to be the hem of our garment. And this is the center back. So we go from the back over to the sleeve. That is going to be joined with this piece here, okay, with this flounce piece. So where do we want to see this motif? Do we want to continue and bring this pattern piece down as far as possible into this area of the motif, so that we're really gradually continuing that motif up into the jacket? Or what I did with my sample, and I'll show you that one more time, is I started by placing the top, and of course following my grain line, but the top of my shoulder way up at the top of the selvage edge. And so there was a gap between the skirt flounce and the bottom portion of the top piece of my jacket. I think I would have rather have taken and placed this pattern piece closer to the flounce, so that it really just keeps that the design of the fabric going up into the shoulder. Okay, so the front piece will be, or the back will be placed straight of grain, so that our back center is straight. And then the same thing with the front piece of the kimono. We want to take that straight of grain, position that, and then line up our back piece, or our, not the back piece, but the opening to the sleeve portion. I put that at the same exact level on the back piece as I did on the front, so that everything lines up with the motif underneath, okay? All the while making sure that my grain line was still straight, okay? And everything worked out beautifully. So you have the yardage, which is 45 inches wide, for the top of your garment and the flounce to fit beautifully within that, and I think it's 3 yards that it really takes to make this particular garment. So hopefully I was able to answer your question about how you lay this out using a border batik. I jump back over here to show you the garment one more time so you can kind of make sense of what I showed over on the cutting table. So here is the front of the kimono jacket, and I'm specifically showing you the flounce area here. So this is the straight front, and you see the motif straight here. And then let's slide over to the side, and you can see that it curves up. You see that? Into this dense motif area. So we lose that kind of sprig area here down at the side. And then the join at the side seam is definitely not one piece to another right as a match. There's no match right there, but that's perfectly fine because you can't really tell the difference because there's so much motif going, you know, and so much movement going on in the motif itself. And so the center back here, where the flounce is on the fold, but there is a seam in the top portion of the kimono. And so this is straight right there. Can you see that? And the join is right here. So I think, you know, after placing the pattern pieces on the fabric on the cutting table, we had a little bit more space here. So we could have joined the motif portion a little bit closer and really had the motif flow a little bit higher up into the main portion of the kimono jacket itself. So, and here's the other side seam again, just so that you can see how that joins together. But with all that movement, you really can't tell that it's joined in that way. So that is how I laid this particular jacket out. Now, the one other thing that I want to mention about this pattern, since we're talking about the layout of it, is I'd like to talk a little bit about fit. And what you need to pay attention to with regard to this jacket. The main feature to think about here is where the flounce lies and where it finishes itself here on the back of your body. Because if it's too long, you're going to feel like it's sitting right on the top of your behind here. And then it's going to drape over that. So really measure from your neckline here down to where the center, kind of the center portion of your back is, down right at that waistline, and then make any adjustments that you need to the top portion of the pattern pieces. And then you'll be in a better position to attach the flounce so that it lays properly in that waistline area back here and then comes around to the front, because it has a swoop that goes down and then up into the front. And you don't need to adjust too much. I think you have to kind of be able to grade it a little bit to the back if you need to adjust the back portion and where the back physically sits and lands. But the top and the front, don't make it go too high. So don't necessarily adjust the front piece as much as you would the back, okay? So just keep that in the back of your mind and really try to measure to make sure that that is fitting you where it should, okay? I'm gonna move that over just a little bit there so it doesn't fall. But I hope I was able to share with you kind of how to lay that out in the right way. And if you have additional questions, let me know. It's such a great pattern, and you're going to really enjoy stitching up that Simplicity 8172. It's just such a great pattern. Okay, I want to give you a couple of updates as well on inventory. This week, hopefully we will have received, I'm taping this just a little bit early, but hopefully we will have received our latest shipment of our nuance gradations. And so those will be back in stock. We have a lot of back orders to get shipped out of specific colorways that we ran out of. And so that is really exciting for us as well, is to get that shipment in. And we're also adding more motifs and shades to our canvas. So those will be on our what's new list on our website as well. And so we're excited about that. So we have another couple of days of opening up boxes and adding items and taking photographs and getting everything on the web. We're really excited about all of those things. If you have any other questions, let us know in the comments below. So give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. For those of you that are new, our Facebook and Instagram and newsletters, so that you get updates on all things that are new or some education or a potential sale now and again. We want to make sure that you don't miss any of our news. Have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful start to your weekend, and keep sewing, smiling, and sharing.